has actually been sectioned off for the D&D club. Yeah. Sorry, you're gonna have to come back later, actually. Sorry. What? What do you mean you're here to play? What do you mean, where's the club? It's here, I'm here. I'm the club, I'm the D&D club. Yeah, I'm the only person here, but, you know, you can still play D&D with one person. It just, I mean, it's a little less fun, but, well, kind of a little less fun, but, you know, it's scheduling, it really is the final boss, so it's actually really hard to get a bunch of people into a room. Okay, sure, yeah, you're here to play. I know a vicious mockery set up when I see one, and you're not gonna get me this time. I'd say it's more likely that you would miss with a magic missile than actually be here for a legitimate reason. I mean, none of the other students have ever actually wanted to play. A group of them joined once, but it was just a clique to make fun of me the whole time. We didn't even roll for it. I mean, I've never really had a real party. Or maybe a false Hydra just took them away from me. Who's to tell at this point? I'm definitely friend material, I think, at least. Sorry, you look confused. Did I say something wrong? Wait. Do you actually want to play D&D with me? Normally people would have left by now. You actually want to play with me? Oh, yes. Sorry, oh my god. Oh my god, okay. Oh my god. Yeah, sit down. I can, what, have you brought your own character? I mean, how did you know about the D&D club in the first place? You saw the posters I made and I put up in the cafeteria. I knew it was worth it. Wow, this is cool. Okay. Alright, no, okay, I can't get overexcited again. This is exactly how it happened before, actually, so, persuade me. You heard me. Roll for persuasion. You don't know what that is? What do you mean? Have you not played D&D before? You're serious? Why are you here then? You saw the posters and you wanted to learn it. Okay, do you know anything about TTRPGs? You don't know what that is? So you've only heard of 5e Dungeons and Dragons? You didn't know there were multiple game systems? Yeah, there's a lot actually. Okay, alright. Well, this is big, okay? I am about to change your life. Listen, we are now best friends, and you can't take that back. Listen, I have a whole binder of notes. I can explain everything. Let me just... Here we go. This is... Oh my goodness, yeah, don't... Oh my god. Okay. No, this is great. Yeah, sit down. Please, sit down. Please, sit down. Okay, good. Alright. Welcome. You are officially now a member yes, okay, that's fine. Alright, well, I guess I'll start from the beginning. Sorry if I ramble a little bit. I get a little excited when talking about this stuff, so I hope you're okay with tangents. Also, D&D as a system is extremely recursive, so many elements have been added to it over like the 40-something years it's been around, so I might have to jump around a few pages from time to time. That's what the 5e is for. It's 5th edition. Well, technically it's 5.5 now. Yeah, there's decimal places. But I will try and keep it to Dungeons and Dragons, at least for this session. We can call it session 0. That would make more sense if you actually knew about the game. It's like a setup phase, so that we can like establish things. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I could talk a ton about other systems like Dagger or Orbital Blues or Kids on Bikes or. I mean, you know, it doesn't matter right now. You want to play D&D. I wouldn't say that D&D is the easiest system to learn, first of all, but like I said, it's quite convoluted, but it's the one everyone knows, like, you know, knows of at least. So, you know, it's sort of got more popular due to like other media and stuff, and like the whole sort of sphere around it of being like, oh, is it evil? Is it satanic? The Satanic Panic, I think it was called. Yeah. No, okay. Yeah. No, sorry. No, we haven't started yet. No, this is like the think of it as the prologue to the explanation. Okay, sorry. Okay. Well, can I get closer if we're gonna start? Sorry, I sort of have diagrams in my notes, and if you want to see them properly, then I'm gonna have to sort of scoot closer. Is this okay? I can move around a little bit as well. It's a comfy chair, big sofa that they gave us in this section of the library. Lots of pillows and stuff. Just sit back, relax, get out a notebook and pen, because I'm gonna be explaining a lot very, very quickly, and I will not be repeating myself unless I accidentally repeat myself a lot. Accidentally. But first of all, allow me to welcome you into the world of TTRPGs. That stands for Tabletop Role-Playing Games, and Dungeons and Dragons as a whole. Alright, we're gonna start off with just the basic roles in the game. Not dice rolls.
expansion books to this, but they are not necessary. And also homebrew stuff. Personally, I really enjoy homebrewing things. I just have this whole idea in my head where I'm not really ingrained in a world unless I created it myself. So I just love making things for my players, especially like surprising them with things. And it's quite difficult to surprise all of my friends with different things because they live at my house because they're all of my stuffed animals, and I tell them everything because I get too excited when I'm writing it. But they act like they're surprised when I tell them in game, and that's really nice. But the GM screen is there so that you can't see all of the devious things I am up to and those secrets that I have written in my notes, and all of the dice rolls that I might be doing from behind here to control all of the whims of the world and the bad guys. From a player's perspective, you will be teamed up with, it's usually between 3 to 5 other players. I would say optimal D&D is played with 4 player characters, and you are going to be controlling a single character that you have come up with the backstory for, that you have worked with me to integrate into the world, and I will have that be a plot thread that consistently comes up to try and narratively tie your character into the world. And as you play through the game, you have decisions to make narratively, although you are not the only one telling this story, as we have the power of gambling. Whoa! Yes, I told you this game could be exciting. Yes, there are numbers involved. Yes, there is mathematics. Yes, it's simple mathematics such as 8 plus 16. But when you are doing that in front of your best friends in the world, that is the hardest maths to do ever. So strap in, because there is random chance to fail and succeed with every action you do. And sometimes failure can be way more interesting narratively than succeeding, which leads into the dice rolls of kind of place. There's Ravenloft, which is like vampires and stuff. There's a lot of different things that you can be inspired by and use in D&D, or you can make up your own. Oh, but yeah, I was going to talk about character sheets, wasn't I? Well, a character sheet is the piece of paper or digital that houses all of the information about your character that you update throughout the campaign when you're leveling up, and it's where you pull certain statistics from when you're rolling for different actions. It's also where you'll keep your equipment and your armor and your spells if you're a spellcaster, and also just general information that you can update about your health. It's basically the UI interface for the game, and then some people use miniature figures on a battle map to display combat, which can give you like a more statistically accurate view of combat. Other people use theatre of the mind, which is basically like writing blind with no UI. You still have a character sheet, but you're describing combat and using sort of the imagination of everyone there to describe an area. This can be very good in more social and roleplay heavy campaigns over combat ones, but you can also mix and match both and have battle maps during combat and just theatre of the mind during more NPC based interactions. I do have an example here of a character sheet. As you can see, it is fairly complicated, but we can break it down into the core sections of the sheet. The top left up here is where we keep your statistics on different stats. And you can see it follows all the way along the top as well. The main 6 stats in D&D are strength, as it is just a ball and will roll away at any opportunity it sees fit. Be warned with the 100-sided dice. If you are nice to me, I might even let you hold it. It's one of the coolest things I own because it's so cool. You love the D100. You love the D100. You love the D100. But it is also scary. You are scared of the D100. You should feel intimidated by how many sides it has. It has more sides than you. You don't have 100 sides. But whenever you have to roll something in the game, you will use one of these dice, and for actions that will be a D20. A DC will be set for the roll. This is a difficulty class, not to be mistaken with classes, which are a different part of the game. I told you it's convoluted. A DC is a number you have to hit or get higher than when you roll the dice. This will let you succeed with the action. If you fail the action, then something will go wrong. As an example, you could be picking a lock and the DC will be a 14 dexterity throw. Specifically in sleight of hand, which is one of the skills on the character sheet that you can set your character to be particularly good at by allocating different points. Some people use a system known as point buy, which will allow them to stash different points into different of the 6 different stats so that they can min-max their characters. I'm a big fan of point buy as a system personally, but then there is also standard array, which gives you a set of numbers that you can attribute to these different statistics. Standard array is cool because it's sort of more balanced. I forget the exact numbers, but I think it's like an 8, a 6, and a 2, or a... No, that's way too high. I think it's a 1, a 2, a 4, and a 6. Well, as modifiers? No, that doesn't make any sense. I think you can add a +2, a +1, a +1, and a -1. I did not write notes on standard array. We have divulged completely into rambling territory. We are so far off the dock. We are in waters of unknowable information because I refuse to Google it. Additionally to these checks, though, we have also got natural 20s and natural 1s. This is when the dice rolls a perfect 20, the highest number that it could roll. In the actual core rules, a natural 20 only applies in combat, but it is a homebrewed in rule that is very, very common as a house rule, and I think greatly improves the game, that on any action that you roll a 20 on, it is a critical success. Critical success. Critical success. That means you do good. Upon doing good, you will completely obliterate the obstacle before you, doing it incredibly successfully. As if there is no possible way you can succeed at something, there is no point in rolling it. So there always has to be at least a margin of success chance. Although, with that chance comes an equally bad downside. The natural 1. Oh no, everyone's scared of the natural 1. This is so scary. Yes, it's a big old 1. It's the lowest you can roll on a D20.
ease your ears. Sorry. I've got my hoodie sleeve. There we go. Other side too. There we go, all better. In combat, if you roll a natural 20, then you do double the amount of dice. So you roll your damage dice and then you roll them again because you're so strong and powerful and awesome and cool. When you are creating your character, you will have to pick a class and a race, as well as languages and skills and some starting equipment usually. And also when you level up you can get feats, which are essentially modifications to your character, where they get a new passive ability or a new optional ability that isn't included in any of the classes, and everyone has access to at a certain threshold level, such as like the lucky feat, which lets you re-roll ones, which is especially useful in combat when you may be rolling low on damage dice, and you can like up those by spending your luck points. Personally though, I find that a lot of D&D stuff is particularly overcomplicated with the amount of rules. One of my favourite classes is the Artificer, which I'll get to in a moment, but they have a lot of rules that they have to be tracking at once, so I normally go for feats that are just passive and I don't need to think about more abilities. Like with the lucky feat, you'll have to be thinking about how many luck points you have. I don't want to be doing all that. I'm already thinking about magic items and how many like charges I have on certain things. Anyway, sorry, you don't know any of these terms yet, but I'll get to it. I wonder if I can remember all of the classes in the game without looking at my notes. This will prove whether or not I'm a D&D master or I'm a faker the whole time. But you don't get to call me a faker because I know more than you, and that makes me better than you. So, there are the spellcasters, of course. These are people that can hone magic from the world using different of those stats to conjure things that others couldn't. I'll get to the whole magic system in a bit. It's quite complicated, but it is also the coolest part of the game. So in terms of spellcasters in the game, there are classes like the Bard, which is like a musician or a poet or an amateur magician. Then there are wizards, which are less amateur magicians, the smart sort of book smart wizards. Sorcerers are sort of magically gifted or given magic through their heritage. Warlocks are spellcasters who have made a deal with an otherworldly creature in order to gain otherworldly powers. Clerics are spellcasters who have made a deal with an otherworldly creature to gain otherworldly powers. Artificers are inventors who channel magic into magical items or creations or constructs. Druids are like wizards who really like grass and leaves, and so they live in nature, and they can talk to animals or become animals if they want to. And then the non-magical people, there are fighters who are boring people with swords. There are paladins who are less boring people with swords because they are of the Lord. Then there's barbarians who are the big brutes with the great axes and the armor, or no armor if they want to do big muscles instead. But that sort of depends on your race, because you probably want at least some degree of armor, unless you have a really high constitution race, or some sort of racial feature that has like inbuilt armor, like a dragonborn has. I think there's also like Goliaths might have some sort of feature around that. I'm not totally sure. There are orcs as well. Like orcs have that, but I'm essentially talking about you gotta be big and strong. You know, you can't be just like a scrawny sort of. This doesn't matter. I'm sure that you have some sort of character in mind, and
archers who are good with bow and arrows. We have rogues who are good at sneaking up and backstabbing people. We have monks who are good at kicking so hard and fast that they defy the laws of physics. And then there is also additional classes that you can get from third-party material that's sort of like the wizards that goes to the people that make D&D. They sort of say, yeah, these are cool, and they attach them to their online service, which is called D&D Beyond. And you can use that to play a gunslinger or a blood hunter. And blood hunters are basically just if vampires had swords, I think is how I think of them as. And gunslingers are what if the joke about artificers having guns because it's steampunk became an entire character. I once played as a centaur gunslinger because gunslingers really need to carry a lot of stuff if they want versatility because the guns are so heavy. Centaurs have an ability passively which lets them carry just a ton of stuff, so they can literally be the donkey of the party, and that helped a ton. And she was called Shelby Seabiscuit, and she wanted to become a show performing gunslinger and go to actual gun shows. And she was really good at guns, but she was actually just like a messenger, and I love that from like a world building standpoint. It's so cool because like if you are in a high fantasy setting and there are centaurs, of course the centaurs are going to be the messengers because they're the fast ones. They can go between the kingdoms really quickly, and so she was trained on that. But she wanted to play and be a gunslinger and like play in like theatre stuff, and so eventually she went off and did that, and it was really cool. And like then she had like her character developed in that direction. It was like it's just cool, and I really enjoyed doing the gunslinger because like normally I play spell casters and gunslingers can't cast spells, but you still need to drag your ammo like you do spell slots, which was sort of methodical and like actually quite relaxing to do the whole time. Sorry, I think I'm getting a little too excited. Let's see what's next in the sheet. Oh, next is races. Oh my goodness. This is where I was just talking about the centaur. There's lots of races. There's humans if you're boring. There's elves if you want to be taller and have pointy ears. There are orcs if you want to be big and strong. There's just so many different things. There's dragon balls if you want to be like a half dragon person and you get like a breath weapon attack, and you can like pull out your wings now. That's like a new thing in like 5.5. You can like activate draconic flight for a short amount of time per long rest. Oh yeah, I should probably say that like in terms of character balancing, your abilities are either you're able to just do them and expend a like ability slot or a charge or a spell slot in order to do them, and then you get those back every time you rest or long rest depending on the ability, and everything else is based on short rests and long rests. A short rest is a hour or two that you spend as downtime, and you're able to spend your hit dice to heal a little bit and you regain some abilities. And then a long rest is an 8-hour period uninterrupted where you regain your health fully. You can get rid of any conditions that you might have unless they're curses or otherwise extended conditions on you, and you can get back all of those sweet spell slots that you so desperately need. But there are some racial abilities like the wings that require you to take a rest in order to do them again. Other races that exist, there's goblins, there's gnomes, there's tieflings, which are like sort of like devil people. They're really cool. There's Goliaths, who are huge people, really tall. There are the Warforged, which are basically robots that are powered by magic. There are the Illithid, but those are like mind flayers, which are usually enemies. Like there's a whole faction of them in the world. goblin isn't a usual race either. Those are usually enemies as well, but you can use homebrew stuff to like sort of patch in your own. Like that's what's so cool about TTRPGs. They are playable the way you want to play them. You can just make your own stuff, and balancing is in some ways important, but in other ways it's way more important that you're just having a good time and you're able to be free to do so. That's why it's so cool. It's like everything is formatted in a game mechanics standpoint, and you can think of the game design behind it while you're creating all of these amazing things and coming up with a bunch of things, and it's all like it has a social thing that you get to play with all your friends. And I have so many friends, which yeah, it's really fun. As well as races, there are also languages. Like you can choose to speak Goblin, or you can speak Draconic, or you can speak Elvish. Everyone, or most people, speak Common, which is just the overall common language, but there's also some non-racial based languages, such as Thieves' Cant, which is the sort of secret language that thieves use to hide messages between their words. Two people that are speaking Thieves' Cant to each other may sound like they're just talking about the weather or something like that, but all other rogues in the area will be able to hear that they are actually using very secretive language. But then we get to the exciting part of the game. Oh, it's time to talk about the stakes. Because combat exists, and that means you can die. Oh no. In order to fight in combat, you will roll initiative, which will set your place in terms of turn order, which means it will go back and forth between the players being able to act and the villainous GM acting in turn from one another. You can also get a bonus to your initiative for some feats as well, if you want to be quick-fingered and nimble. But upon rolling initiative, you can then use actions and bonus actions and your movement on your character sheet to move around the battlefield, attacking and firing off spells. A lot of spells will either be an action or a bonus action, and pretty much every attack in the game is an action. You can also spend your action using the dash action, which lets you move double the amount of your movement speed. So instead of attacking anything, you can run a further distance across a long stretch of land. Usually, your movement speed is between 30 and 40 feet of movement per turn, based on my experience, but it largely depends on your race. The action economy truly is the strategy behind the game. It's sort of setting yourself up for, oh, I can try and roll this heavy hitting attack, but if I miss it, then I have spent my action, and I am directed to only be able to use my bonus action to help out this round. That might be with a spell that you can use very quickly, such as a healing word. Every round of combat is 6 seconds in game time. So you have to be thinking about it in a standpoint of, on your go, everyone else is doing their go simultaneously, and also within a 6-second time frame every time you choose to do a new thing. As well as actions and bonus actions, you also have reactions, which means that you can act out of turn by announcing that you're going to as well as this, there are certain conditions in the game. There are a lot of them, but they basically affect what you can do in combat, such as if you are grappled, you are unable to move. If you are prone, then you have to use your action to get back up again, or you aren't able to move. You can be elevated off of the ground. That isn't really a condition, that's sort of just a mark that you can put into your character to sort of say, hey, I'm flying up here. You can be frightened by an enemy, which means you can't get any closer to them. You have to be running away from them in order to move. You can be stunned, which means you can't do anything that turn. You can be charmed, which means you are unable to attack or harm that person. That is, if you are charmed, you cannot attack the person that charmed you. I should have clarified that. It's not that you can't attack someone who is charmed. That would make sense. No, anyway, there's lots and lots of conditions, far too many for me to list on and on and on and on about. But you mainly just learn from experience. That's the way you play the game, really. It would be insane to memorize all of the rules without having actually played it. That would be crazy. So yeah, I would just recommend that you try and absorb it as you play. But then we can get to spell slots. See, every time you level up as a spellcaster, you may gain additional spell slots of a certain level, or new spell slots of a higher level, which will let you unlock higher level spells. That means more powerful magic. It also means you can upcast your previous spells so that they can do a bit more damage or have a longer time frame. Some spells require concentration, which is another condition, and when you are hit whilst concentrating, you have to roll to maintain concentration or the spell effect will end. Spell slots are another element of the action economy, which means you have to constantly be tracking them, because every time you cast a spell, you must mark off a spell slot of that level, and you only have a finite amount of them before you need to rest. In return, spells are a lot more creatively useful and can do potentially a lot more damage than regular attacks. The regular attacks are free. Oh, wow. Pay me money. Pay me money. I've done such a good job at teaching you so far, you gotta pay me money. Speaking of money, there is currency in this world which is in different coins, namely through gold coins, though there are different currencies as well, but it gets a little confusing if it isn't just coins, because there is technically also like silver coins and platinum coins and electrum coins. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. The point is, you are adventuring so that you can find some money, because you need money to buy more gear so that you can keep adventuring, or whatever else perpetuates the plot. That depends again on the campaign frame, where you go try and stop some sort of BBEG. That BBEG is an official term in TTRPG, is known as the big bad evil guy, by the way. That's colloquialism. It's the big guy who's trying to blow up the world or destroy everything or whatever. It is the thing that you are moving forward to try and stop. It is the reason that you need that MacGuffin to put in the top of the tower to blow up the guy that is trying to blow up everything else. But I feel like we're referring a little bit to our plot level stuff. We haven't even got to the end of the character sheet yet. Okay, well, I've talked about feats a little bit. There's combat damage.
That's why some people collect a lot of dice, because sometimes you need a bunch of the same kind of dice. Okay. Oh, we do also have different damage types, don't we? Okay, let me try and speed through these a little bit. So, in D&D, when you are fighting with more physical damage, then there are only 3 types of damage, which are bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, which are like hammers and spears and swords, respectively. Like arrows will do piercing, swords will do slashing, and being punched in the face will do bludgeoning damage. But with magical attacks, there are certain energy damage types that it could be, which are acid, cold, fire, force, lightning, necrotic, poison, psychic, radiant, and thunder. These are corrosive, frigid, hot forces, like a concentrated blast of magic energy rather than any particular element. It's the catch-all. Electricity, life-draining energy, toxins, mental or emotional trauma, divine light, and concussive sound, respectively. Now you may be wondering what these different types of magic actually do, and outside of just sort of flavour and description, they don't do a ton, apart from that some creatures, including players, depending on their feats, races, class features or whatever, or magic items that you may be equipped with, it will affect what you are resistant, immune, and vulnerable to. For instance, a creature made out of wood may be more vulnerable to fire, whilst a giant kraken born in a stormy sea may be immune or resistant to lightning damage. As my artificer sadly recently discovered whilst trying to fight a kraken, and their entire build is around lightning damage. Some more sort of iconic enemies that you should probably know to get into sort of the colloquialisms around the game and all the sort of in-jokes is there's always got to be goblins. First session, you're always fighting a band of goblins somewhere. Don't trust chests, they might be mimics as well as other items and objects and furniture, but mostly treasure chests. Mimics are brilliant creatures. They are chests with teeth that are trying to eat you. Personally, I think mimics are some of the coolest creatures in iFantasy, purely because it's sort of, depending on how you view them and how you want to approach them from a game mechanic perspective, if they are magical creatures, as in they have been sort of formed by magic to sort of imbue chests with a monstrous energy, that's cool. But if they themselves are a creature that has evolved to look like a treasure chest, that is brilliant, because that can only possibly exist in a world where there are enough adventurers around the place, exploring dungeons, being dumb as rocks, for a mimic to evolve for its primary food source to be adventurers. That's so funny that there can be actual creatures that are built around the fact that
bears are great. They're giant bears that have the traits of owls. Ridiculous combination. I don't see how giving a bear an owl face makes it more dangerous. Gotta love them though. Displacer beasts are like big panthers with these tentacles. They sort of undulate to create a magical mirrored version of themselves, and sort of illusion a artificial way of upping their AC, which is their armor class, which is how hard it is to hit them. It's like a DC, which is the difficulty class, but specifically in combat. There's also beholders. Beholders are big balls of eyeball that have a lot of tentacles with other eyeballs on them that can shoot off beams with a bunch of different effects. They are very scary and will probably kill you if you aren't very high level, but they're cool as hell. Bugbears are like sort of like big goblins, but more hairy and are ready to die in packs, but not like an actual animal. They're like people, but they're like angry people who, well, they're like if a caveman was also it's like if everybody hated cavemen. Then of course we've got dragons. Oh, dragons are big old scary guys. They start off really small as wormlings, and then they grow up through different stages until they become these massive beasts, and each dragon has a different colour which corresponds to their element. Like they can be a brass dragon and be a lightning based dragon, which means instead of breathing fire they breathe lightning, and there's all these different versions. And you can also have like I said, brass, so there's colours, there's metallic, and then there's, I think, crystal as well. So there's 3 different types, and each of them have their own version of the element to just sort of diversify where they come from and all this stuff. It's a cool system, but like also one that probably gets derelict to the side quite a lot because you don't need to encounter that many dragons. I know there's called Dungeons and Dragons, but really, if you put that many dragons in your campaign, you are going to kill your player characters so quickly. That is the fastest way to a TBK. Dragons are hard to balance because they're big scary lizards. Who knows what's going on with them? Other iconic things you should probably know. There's magic items, like there's a bag of holding, and that's a bag with a pocket dimension inside, so it's got an infinite amount of space for you to fill it with. But don't put another bag of holding in a bag of holding. That creates a ribbon space, which is very scary, and can lead to the ethereal plane, which is, there's basically some multiple levels of existence in D&D. So the main plane is the material plane, and then you've also got the ethereal plane, and as well as a bunch of other planes of existence in between them. But essentially the ethereal plane, you're just floating around as a ghost. There's no up, down, left, right. There are some adventures that may occur in the ethereal plane, but it's also sort of like, it was never intended that you would actually go to the ethereal plane in the original versions of the game, so it's sort of weirdly written. But then there's a bunch of like continuity stuff that they had to try and fit into the world of the Forgotten Realms, and that sort of made the ethereal plane just a weird place to try and run. Yeah, it's like sort of a ghost space. But then we have some iconic spells as well, like of course the fireball. I didn't ask how big the room was, I said I cast fireball. Fireball is a giant fireball blast that goes around corners and can absolutely obliterate a room. You have to make a dexterity save if you are caught in the blast, or take a lot of d6's worth of damage. There is also the shield spell, which is a tried and true classic, which is a reaction spell, one of the few reaction spells in the game, and as a reaction to taking damage or being about to take damage, you can up your AC by, I think it's a +3, so if you're about to be hit, you can cast shield and it will block the oncoming attack. All of these spells and all the spells in the game fall under 8 different schools of magic, which are abjuration, a sort of protection, sort of a spell that negates damage. This is your shields, your counter spells, your dispel magic. Conjuration is summoning creatures, teleporting to places, and generally just creating stuff. This is stuff like Find Familiar or Dimension Door, or just a teleport spell. Divination is knowledge-based spells of revealing different things, seeing unseen things, detecting magic, so detect magic is a spell, identify, and as we said, scrying. Enchantment. That's the manipulation of things, like charming people, controlling people's minds. Charm person would be on there, hold person would be on there, and suggestion as well. Evocation. This is channeling and shaping elements specifically to create or destroy, such as fireball, magic missile, cure wounds, or mending. Illusion is to deceive people by creating facades. This is your minor illusions, silent image, blur. Necromancy. This is manipulating death and life itself. Toll the dead, animate dead, and raise dead would fall into this. Lots of deads. It's necromancy. You don't need me to explain necromancy. Everyone knows what necromancy is. Transmutation. This is basically altering forms, so polymorph, haste, featherfall. It's to make you faster, it's to make you fall slower, it's to make you look different. And we have talked about all elements of the risk and reward of using all of these different spells and abilities, and in combat the economy of different actions. But what is it all leading to? What is risk without death? Death. Wow, you're gonna freaking die. I'm gonna freaking kill you. In the game, I'm gonna kill you with, but like not in like a GM versus player way, which is a really unhealthy way to play the game, because it's collaborative storytelling at the end of the day. But I'm gonna kill you, and you're gonna have to make death saving throws, which is when you get to 0 hit points, you have to roll a flat d20, and that means it doesn't have any modifiers attached to it. And if you get a 10 or above, you succeed, and if you get a 9 or below, you fail. Actually, you actually get 3 successes in order to stabilize, or you get 3 fails and then you die. So it's a little bit more forgiving. But it's still important to think of the risk aspect, because then, you might have a little bit more trepidation. And then that sort of balance between the trepidation and the want for adventure is what the game is all about. So really, all you gotta do is come up with a character that loves the world they're in and has something to lose if they don't get out there.
because I was so nice, but that is a 1. So, and because that's natural, no modifiers count. So, it was nice hanging out at least. Thank you for listening to me. And I guess I might see you around, but it's fine if you don't want to play. You do? You actually want to? Oh, okay. No, I'll make a whole campaign. I can write down all my ideas